Last time you saw us, we were climbing up one of New Mexico's mountains the easy way, experiencing New Mexico's oldest Spanish settlement, and finding some of the 24,000 petroglyphs on the edge of a city. We're continuing our series of traveling New Mexico. We found a sweet boondocking spot just outside the city. Lots of room here. We'll tell you more about it later. But first, let's explore Santa Fe. We'll start at the Visitor Center. Always a good first stop. We parked in the 30-minute parking spot, but the friendly folks at the Visitor Center told us that we were welcome to park in the larger lot even though the sign says otherwise. That's good since there are several things to visit within walking distance. The oldest house in Santa Fe, and often claimed to be the oldest house in the United States, is an interesting stop. It's believed to date back to 1646, but parts of it may be even older. The house is constructed over the walls of an older Pueblo structure, possibly from the 1200s, making it deeply significant to both Spanish colonial and indigenous history. The coffin, an example of how coffins were constructed in colonial times, adds to the house's haunted reputation. It's free. Donations are accepted. Right next door is a San Miguel mission, often referred to as the oldest church in the continental United States. The original construction is thought to be around 1610 by Indian laborers under Spanish Franciscan missionaries. It was destroyed in 1680 during the Pueblo Revolt, a massive indigenous uprising that expelled Spanish settlers for 12 years. The church was rebuilt in 1710 when the Spanish reestablished control. Most of what stands today is from the reconstruction, although parts of the adobe walls may date back to 1610. Spanish colonial and native Pueblo architecture with thick walls made of adobe and wooden beams make it, wow. It may be modest in size, but it is rich in detail. The San Jose bell found in the church was cast in 1356 in Spain. It's believed to be one of the oldest church bells in the Western Hemisphere. It's cracked and no longer in use, but it's supposed to be displayed on the left side of the entry on a wooden stand. We always seem to miss something. A smaller replica is inside as well. It's specifically designed for public interaction and education. You're encouraged to make some noise and feel the vibrations, so the Hubs gave it a try. Since 1859, San Miguel Chapel has been privately owned and maintained by St. Michael's High School. In 2023, 20 solar panels was installed on the roof. They're hidden behind the parapets, preserving the chapel's historic appearance. While not owned by the Archdiocese of Santa Fe, the church is consecrated by them and Catholic Mass is occasionally held there. Another site to visit within walking distance is the New Mexico State Capitol building. It's the only round Capitol building in the United States. Built in a circular shape to reflect the Zia sun symbol, an ancient Native American design and now the state's emblem, it blends Pueblo Revival and Territorial Revival architecture. Completed in 1966, the four wings of the building point to the cardinal directions, and the layout mimics a kiva, a ceremonial space used by indigenous peoples. Unlike many U.S. state capitals, the dome isn't visible from the outside. The architecture of Santa Fe is so unique, and it's what I love about the city. Why do you want to visit? Well, it's a giant display of art. It's said to have 600 works by various New Mexico artists. The works include paintings, sculptures, textiles, ceramics, and photography. So the building is a large public art museum, and you can visit for free. It's one of the most photogenic government buildings in the United States. If you're there from January to March during their session, you can watch the legislature in action. We came during the week and took a self-guided tour. I have links in the descriptions for all the things we saw in Santa Fe. In the 2020 census, Santa Fe had over 87,000 residents, considered to be a middle to low population for a state capital, but it feels smaller to me. A lot of what you want to see is within walking distance, and you want to be on the streets to take in all the art and culture here. Santa Fe is full of beautiful, historic churches. The Loretto Chapel is one of the most iconic, mysterious landmarks. Beauty, history, and the Miraculous staircase are all reasons to see this church, built between 1873 and 1878. The Gothic Revival style is unusual in an adobe-rich Santa Fe. The church was built for the Sisters of Loretto, a Catholic order who came to Santa Fe in 1852. The sisters were to open a girls' school called the Loretto Academy. The French architect based his design on a chapel in Paris. It was the first Gothic structure west of the Mississippi. So what's the miracle here? You see, the original chapel was built without a staircase to the choir loft. The sisters prayed to St. Joseph, the patron saint of carpenters, for 9 days. On the last day, a mysterious man appeared with simple tools and built a staircase with no central support or rails. The wood he used wasn't native to the area. He left as quickly as he came. Later, the sisters asked that the railing be added to the Miraculous staircase for safety. The church is now owned by the Kirkpatrick family, who runs it as a museum and wedding venue. It's not an active parish. I enjoy a good art museum, and Santa Fe is all about art. Canyon Road has more than 80-plus galleries, studios, and specialty shops. It was originally a residential trail used by indigenous peoples and Spanish settlers. In the early 20th century, it became an art colony. Painters and writers like Olive Rush and members of the Taos Santa Fe art movement settled in and transformed many of the buildings into studio and galleries while preserving the Pueblo and territorial architecture styles. There are notable historic structures in the area. The half-mile route is totally walkable for most people. Canyon Road mixes old and new. Some galleries have been there a long time, and others show brand new creative art. It's really fun to look at, like a treat for your eyes. Driving around this area that extends beyond Canyon Road is beautiful. It's true Santa Fe style. We feel like it's been a really long time since we've given a true shout out for a good meal. We love New Mexico food, so I was really hoping to find some place that fits our criteria. the meal that you dream about for years. I ordered the comfort bowl, which was good, but the Hubs ordered the enchiladas. It fit the criteria that we need to get this place a shout-out. Joe's Tequila Bar, attached to the inn on the Alameda, earns our coveted shout-out. Good service, good food, with a meal that we will be thinking about years later. Finally! Next, we headed to the Palace of the Governors. Originally built in 1620 by the Spanish colonists, it served as the governor's headquarters of the Spanish colony of New Mexico. Later, it was used by Mexican and American governments after New Mexico changed hands. Today, it's part of the New Mexico History Museum, and along the front portal, Native American artists sell their authentic art. I love the concept of a plaza, a central square surrounded by important buildings such as churches, homes, government offices, and shops. Some of the old customs are still present today. Plazas are used for music, dancing, and festivals. It's a place for parades, speeches, and protests, or just relaxing and meeting friends. It's a symbol of community. The plaza was built around 1610 and was the end of the Santa Fe Trail, a trade route from Missouri to New Mexico. It's one of the oldest public spaces in the United States. The stone obelisk in the center of the plaza was erected in 1868 to honor soldiers from New Mexico who fought in the Union Army during the American Civil War and battles against indigenous tribes during the U.S. Western expansion. The city is working with the community to decide what should happen to the space. Like the other two plazas in New Mexico located in Albuquerque and Taos, you can find a mix of shops with more touristy items and others with high-end items. Santa Fe is definitely more upscale overall. In fact, walking into a side chute off the Central Plaza brings you to a whole other world, one that we will just enjoy being a window shopper. Of course, plazas always have restaurants and various eateries, and all of this walking made us want to sit for a bit. We picked a French pastry shop that had great atmosphere, and the treats looked pretty yummy. I only had an iced tea, but the Hubs tried an eclair. Both the eclair and the price were a little disappointing, but it was a nice place to sit and rest. I am a very big fan of old churches. We'll be looking at another spectacular church located right next to the plaza. Cathedral Basilica of St. Francis of Assisi is a beautiful historic landmark. Construction began in 1869. It was built on the site of an older adobe church dating back to the early 1700s. The church was built in the Romanesque Revival style. Some of the stained glass windows were imported from France. One of the things the Hubs noticed as we've looked through these old churches are the Stations of the Cross. There are 14 images that represent key events from Jesus' condemnation, ending with his burial. The question that we both have, why isn't the significance of these events not shown? The resurrection. We're not Catholics, so we didn't know the answer to this. If you know, write it in the comments. The church is an active parish, and donations to view the buildings are appreciated. Our next destination to check out is the Cross of the Martyrs and the remnants of Fort Marcy. You can walk up a scenic brick and concrete walkway from the bottom of Paseo de Parata, about a quarter mile east of the plaza. But with all the walking we've been doing, I definitely was not doing that. If you decide to walk up, there are supposed to be about 20 plaques detailing Santa Fe's history. We drove to the top. I was pretty done, so I sent the Hubs out to take some photos. The Cross of the Martyrs is a steel memorial erected in 1994 and honors the 21 Franciscan priests killed in the 1680 Pueblo Revolt. Fort Marcy was constructed in 1846 during the Mexican-American War. It was the first U.S. Army installation in the New Mexico Territory. Over time, erosion reduced it to earthwork mounds, and it's now preserved today with interpretive panels. The hill does have a great view of Santa Fe. Southwest of the historic Santa Fe Plaza, centered around the still active Santa Fe Depot, is the Santa Fe Railyard. The 50-acre area is comprised of an art, market, and transit hub, as well as an emerging creative and industrial district. The introduction of the railroads in 1880 sparked an economic and cultural transformation in Santa Fe. By the end of the 1990s, the decline of the rail freight and passenger service led to neglect. But beginning in 2002, the city, along with the Santa Fe Railyard Community Corporation, led an effort to build up the area. The result preserved rail heritage while creating a sustainable, people-focused space. We had a serious conversation about taking some of the trains for the experience. The commuter trains were really cheap, but we ran out of time. Click the link to our blog for more in-depth information on all the things we visited here. Kakaway isn't your typical chocolate shop. You'll find the elixirs naturally dairy-free and unsweetened, staying true to the chocolate recipes from 3,000 years ago, from Olmec to colonial Europe. Because it's such a unique culinary experience, you're offered tastings before you order. Don't let the size fool you. The elixir was very rich, and I couldn't finish the small cup. I thought it was a unique cultural experience. The hubs, he'd rather go to a boring old sweet shop. We found a great location to boondock within minutes of the city. Our camp was in the high desert about 7,200 feet above sea level, surrounded by pinyon. How were we surprised by Santa Fe? It's pretty walkable for most people, and although it's definitely more upscale than what we're used to, it didn't feel too stuffy or uncomfortable, like many high-end towns. If you love history, architecture, and culture, this is the place to explore. I think it's one of the most beautiful towns in the United States. Join us next time as we explore the last of the 3 most popular towns in New Mexico. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss an episode.
When my son was little, he kept asking me to put his shoes on. I kept explaining to him they were too small for me.